Hey guys, we are in the basement, and today guys, and yes, take a look here. The arcade is turned off, and yes, I am not gonna turn it back on ever again until we fix the Tempest. And that's what we're gonna do in this video. We're gonna attempt and hopefully fix the Tempest in this video, and right now we're having a big monitor issue with it. Basically, I'm blowing a fuse, F600 on power up. It just blows instantly. So I believe and think it's a transistor issue, so we're gonna take the monitor to the garage and see if we can fix it. And actually, this morning I released a quick unlisted video asking you guys what we should do today. And so if you guys follow me on Twitter at BLKDOG7, you might have saw that. But anyway, I was surprised because I asked you guys, do you want to do the Tempest fix today, or do you want to work on the Mortal Kombat? And most people said the Tempest. I was surprised by that. I thought for sure I'd be working on the Mortal Kombat today, but you know what? This is better because the Tempest has been down. It's annoying me. It's in the way. It's pulled out, and really, it's the only game down here that's not working. So today we're gonna pull that monitor out, bring it to the garage, take a look at the transistors, maybe replace some of the transistor sockets, I don't know, and hopefully get that monitor working again, get the game working again, and then we'll have a basement full of working games, and then maybe if we have time, why don't we play some games and hang out? What do you guys think? And then also, before we go over there, I want to show you this. So last night I came down here and played some games on Friday like I usually do, and I'm like, you know what, this is really bothering me. Where are my balls? I lost my balls. If you guys saw the last video, which was the Ghostbuster Slimer video, for some reason my game was missing 2 balls and I just could not figure it out for the life of me. So I came down here, I'm like, where are these balls? Because I'm looking on the ground. I'm worried that my dog took them and hid them or something. So I lifted the playfield and I found them, and they were in the bottom of the cabinet, of the pinball cabinet, all the way in the back actually. So I have no idea what I did. I just wanted to kind of update you guys. Honestly, I have no idea what I did, how I did that. Did I drop them down there when I was working on the game and just forgot to pull them up? I don't know. So I found them. The case of the missing balls has been closed. It has been solved. So anyway, let's go over here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove the 6100 monitor, and actually let's kind of just quickly review, because we did do kind of part 1 of the Tempest fix video a couple weeks ago. We did part 1 of this series, I guess, and because my Tempest has been giving me trouble for a few years actually, and the game would just kind of wig out, freak out, it would shut down, all this stuff, and I was always able to fix this by reseating the edge connector, okay, the connector on the back. I would reseat that, it would fix it. It'd be fine for a couple weeks, couple months, whatever. Then it would start freaking out again, and I would reseat the edge connector, okay? Eventually, it got to a point where reseating the edge connector didn't fix it anymore, okay? And so the last video, what we did was we repinned the edge connector. The game came back to life, but it was playing blind, okay? And we figured out that the monitor, or at least I figured out later, the monitor was blowing a fuse, okay? So what I think happened here is that I had this edge connector problem forever, for a couple years, and it never went away, and then I think another problem was added on top of it, which was the monitor. And when the monitor went, I thought I was still having the edge connector problem, when in fact I actually had 2 problems, the edge connector and the monitor now. So anyway, last video we fixed problem 1, which was the edge connector. Now this video, hopefully we fix problem 2, which is the monitor, which again is blowing fuse F600 on power up, okay? The monitor's basically dead. We can hear deflection chatter, okay? The spot killer is on, but there's no picture. The game's playing blind, and that's it. The fuse is blown. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna remove the monitor and we're gonna bring it to the garage, and we're gonna just get to work and test all these transistors. So we're gonna have to remove it from the front here. And actually, I'm gonna have to take this glass off. So let's take a look here. These are just Phillips screws, I believe. So let's remove the glass, and then we're gonna have to, I haven't removed this monitor in quite some time, so I think there's just like 4 nuts holding it on here on the front. So let's remove this top bracket here. You know, I really kind of wanted to work on Mortal Kombat today, just because it's new and fresh. I'm so sick of revisiting these games, you know. I don't want to work on Tempest anymore. I've moved on, you know. So anyway, all right, let's remove this, okay. And let's get the glass off. And we probably have a cardboard bezel to deal with, and we do. So let me just rest the glass to the side here so it doesn't get destroyed. And we have a cardboard bezel, okay, and here's our 6100 monitor, and it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 nuts that we're gonna have to break to get it out. Now I do need to disconnect it. Why don't we disconnect the connection on the back really quick? So what's nice about these vector monitors, the 6100s, is they have one single connection right here. So let's just go ahead and disconnect it, and that's it. It's disconnected now. So let's come up front, and let me get my socket set here. And let me just, I don't think these are on finger tight, but let me just trying to check. No, they're not. So let's get our socket set. Hopefully I don't need a deep socket for this. I don't think we will. Let's see. Okay. So let's remove those. We might have to remove the control panel or just swing it down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead here and just remove these 4 nuts, and then we'll pull the monitor out. But you can see it's just a nut and a lock washer and another washer. So let me get the rest of them off, and then we'll yank the monitor. All right, I have the top 2 off, so we're going to have to just unlatch the control panel here and then tilt it forward to get to the bottom 2. It's really tight in here. But, you know, this is a cabaret, which is the nice small cabinet, but it has the full-size monitor in here, so it's really tight and crammed. But that's why I love these Atari cabarets like this, because you get the kind of smallness, the coolness of the cabaret, but you're not compromising gameplay or experience because you get the full-size vector monitor. And, you know, Dig Dug's like this. The Dig Dug Cabaret has a full-size 19-inch raster monitor. Centipede has a full-size monitor. I love these cabarets. I always wanted to get a Dig Dug Cabaret. I mean, Dig Dug really is a game that I really like and loved. Oh, I love that game. It does get a little repetitive, because like when I built my main cabinet, or even when I had the 60-in-1 in my Miss Pac-Man, Dig Dug was a game I played a lot, but it did get to the point where you realize it's kind of a one-trick pony, you know? It's rinse and repeat. Okay, so we got all 4 of the nuts off. I'm gonna just go around the back here and just triple confirm that I'm not missing some kind of a connection or wire or anything, and I don't see anything. So let's go ahead and pull this out. And of course, when you remove the monitors, you gotta be super careful because you don't want to crack the neck. You know, it's really fragile. And you know, in something like a vector monitor like this, you know, that tube is worth a fortune, and it's not easy to replace. So just kind of carefully get it out here. All right. So I'm gonna just put it on the ground, and then just kind of reorganize myself here. All right. Okay, so the monitor's out. I have it on the ground. So I'm going to bring it to the garage, and let's go out there and get to work on the 6100 monitor. All right, guys, we are in the garage, and here's the 6100 waiting for us to work on it. And by the way, look at it out here. I have a lot of stuff. I want to tell you guys too, you know, actually a couple weeks ago when I was feeling not so great, I came out here to do Mortal Kombat 2, like the next video, and before I filmed a little bit of stuff, and I actually figured out that the power drift board is actually working because I plugged the board into the high impact football monitor and I was able to see power drift, but there was no sound. And a lot of you guys in that video said, hey, you might want to check your 12 volts. Well, actually there's no 12 volts on that power supply. It's only a 5-volt power supply. So I suspect it's getting 12 volts or similar from the transformer, and then that audio amplifier that's in there is converting it to DC or something. But we're gonna have to revisit that power drift later. I do think there's something much bigger going on with the power drift, guys, because I'm gonna tell you, there's no sound for one. Okay, the game's playing. I verified the game's playing. The monitor's dead, so we'll fix the monitor. But what was weird though is that I would coin the game up and start the game and none of the controls worked. None of them. I couldn't steer, I couldn't accelerate, nothing was working. So I think that power drift is a mess, and I'm not looking forward to it because I actually attempted to try to figure out what was wrong, why the controls weren't working, and nothing looked disconnected to me. So we got like a bunch of issues with that power drift. We got a dead monitor. We have no audio, so we have to figure out why it's doing that, and none of the controls work. So that's actually going to be a big project. And honestly, when I picked up that game, I'm like, oh, this is going to be the easiest thing ever to fix. I don't think that's going to be the case at all. So anyway, let's go over here and talk about the 6100. And actually, I want to review a little bit because, and I should have done this at the beginning of this video, because I did do some things with this monitor, and I think I talked about them in some other videos, because one of my viewers, and his name escapes me right now, I'm sorry, he said that, and by the way, he told me that he had the same issue. He was blowing fuse F600, and he replaced the transistors, put the fuse in, and it fixed it all, okay? So that's kind of some guidance or a clue or a hint that I definitely appreciate. And then also, I want to tell you that so when the game was playing blind, we could hear the monitor chatter. We could hear deflection, like it's doing stuff. And when I turn the screen up here, I can actually bypass the spot killer, because the spot killer kind of shuts everything down to protect it. And when I turn the screen up, I can actually see the game being played, but it was like in a weird, crazy diagonal line. Now, I don't really know what that means. But it was doing it. So anyway, what I want to do here is I want to go through the transistors, and actually I want to show you guys some research I also did in addition to the viewers' advice. So I went on the 6100 FAQ, which is an amazing, amazing document, okay? And and by the way, if you ever want to read up on these monitors, I really encourage you guys to check out this document. You know, just Google 6100 FAQ and read it. It is the Bible for this monitor, and it's a really good read, and it's very educational too. It explains how the monitor works and all that. So anyway, in this 6100 FAQ here, this section here that says X and Y amplifiers, I'll just read this to you. Now, a lot of this doesn't really make a ton of sense to me, but it kind of does tell me that we're kind of in the right direction here. It says both the X and Y amps are nearly identical. Only the Y amp is described. The Y deflection signal from the game board is applied to the base circuit of transistor Q600, okay? And all the Q transistors are basically these bottle cap type transistors that are around here, okay? And it goes on, the Y deflection signal from the game board is applied to the base circuit of transistor Q600. Transistors Q600 and Q601 form a differential amplifier. Again, this stuff, I don't quite get it just yet. The more I do this stuff, the more it starts making sense, but not quite there yet. But I'll keep reading. Transistor Q602 is a constant current source providing current to the differential amplifier. Transistor Q603 is the driver transistor that provides current to the emitter follower transistors Q605 and 606. Transistor 604 is a constant current source that provides current to the driver transistor 603. Now here's the most important part of this whole sentence here, or paragraph. Fuse F600 can open in case of circuit failure, okay? Protecting the deflection coil in the yoke from damage. Okay, so anyway, it's talking about all these transistors, and if this circuit fails, then F600 can open, okay? And all those transistors that it's talking about are these frame-mounted transistors again. There's PNP and there's NPN, which is positive, and negative, positive, negative. There's two right here, and then there are four mounted on the bottom of the frame right here, okay? And it really does feel like whenever I work on these monitors, it's always those darn transistors. It always is. So Ian Kellogg actually has some new inventory of these transistors at iankellogg.com. So Ian sent me a set. Now, the original transistors are 2N3716 and 2N3792. Ian is using a more modern part number, 2N5884, which is the PNP, and then 2N5886, which is the NPN. So anyway, just know that Ian Kellogg at iankellogg.com has these in stock, and also the John's Arcade branded cap kits and get well kits and all that. So if you do shop there, you are supporting the channel, and honestly, he's going out of his way to find the best possible parts, not old stock that's been sitting on a pallet or even bootleg stock. So anyway, moving on. I also want to show you guys this that's in the FAQ, okay? It says here that symptom F600 blows immediately on power up. It says replace resistor 612 if open. So why don't we do that first actually and test resistor 612. Now let's kind of zoom in here and see if we could find it. And so here's F600, by the way. That's the fuse that's blown. And I did replace that fuse just for the heck of it, and it blew immediately. So actually, why don't we test that fuse really quick? I'll just show you guys how to test it. So to test the fuse, you can put your meter on continuity. You know, when the 2 points touch, it beeps. And to test fuses, you could basically just touch the housing of the fuse holder. Okay? And if you get the beep, it'll tell you if it's good or bad. You don't want to just visually look at a fuse and determine if it's good or bad. You need to test it with a meter. Then if I come back here, this is 700. That's good. And then here's 600. And that's bad. Okay? So that's the fuse that we're blowing. So F600 is bad. I'm going to actually remove that. I think. I might need a screwdriver. Oh, that's really in there. All right, we'll get that later. All right, so F600 is still bad. I did replace it. It blew immediately, okay? And then going back to the FAQ, it wants us to test 612, which I can see is right here, and it's labeled B+, okay? So if that resistor goes, I guess it takes down the whole thing here. And it's supposed to be, actually, let's measure it, and I'll look in the manual to see the value here. So I'm testing it in circuit, which is not the most reliable way to do this, but I think with the resistors, you can usually get away with it. So we're measuring at 3.4 ohms on that resistor. So it's not measuring open or anything. And then if we look at the parts list for the monitor, which I have printed out here, so 612 right here should be 3.3 ohms. So I'm going to say that resistor is good. So let's kind of move on now to the transistors. Now I'll tell you, one of the quick and easy tests you can do with the transistors is to make sure they're not shorted to the chassis. And you could do that by doing the continuity test. And I actually already did this, but we're just going to do it anyway. So what's interesting though is that this chassis, this frame, has this kind of paint on here. That's kind of conductive. You got to really work hard to make it beep, whereas the base of it is way more conductive. See that? But this has like this almost like, I can't tell if it's some kind of powder coating or something that's on here. It's like a hammered finish. So anyway, let's see if we can just get this. So that's not grounded to the frame, I would say. I'm really just kind of wiggling the one that's on the frame to just kind of really get to the metal. And so those are not grounded, okay? And we're going to go through and test all these transistors. And then I can get to a couple. Oh, look at that. That one's grounded. What? That's weird. It was just beeping. Now it's not beeping. Huh. Why did it just beep there for a second? Now it's not. Unless I hit something else. So that one's not grounded. That one seems good. And there's one back here. That one's not grounded either. And then there's one more that I think is under. Yeah, there's one more all the way in the back here. So we're gonna have to remove the deflection board to really get to this. So why don't we discharge the monitor really fast? Now, it is my understanding the 6100 is a self-discharging monitor. But I'm still going to do this. And honestly, you really should discharge these monitors with an HV probe because it's a gradual bleed. But I have always discharged 6100s with just a screwdriver and an alligator clip, and I've never had any trouble. I think, though, I don't have trouble with this because I do think this is a self-discharging monitor, and this is already discharged, okay? And what I'm doing right now is kind of just an extra safety step. But really, when you discharge monitors, especially black and white vector monitors, you should never, ever, ever, ever discharge it with a screwdriver and an alligator clip. You need to get an HV probe, because an HV probe is not a sudden short to ground. It actually bleeds the voltage out of there. There's like a bunch of resistors and stuff in that thing. My HV probe's actually broken, so I'm just going to use a screwdriver. And let's see if we can get a good ground here. But it's always a good idea to just, at least, I always do this regardless if a monitor is quote unquote self-discharging, okay? And we got no snap there. And usually if the tube is charged, you'll get a nice snap. Nice audible kind of like, all right, let's come in here and see if we can get this out. Okay, there you go. So we are discharged, and it's safe now to work on this. But again, I do think it's a self-discharging monitor. I don't think that tube was really carrying any voltage there. So okay, let's get the deflection board off here, and because we just need to get it out of the way. And really, we just got to disconnect everything. So let's disconnect all these connectors. I do think it's a good idea to take a photo if you're worried and you've never done this before. That way you have some reference when you put it back together. But I have done this a bunch of times, and it does all kind of fall into place, if you ask me, when you put it back together. But I do think it's a good idea to take a photo before you do this. And then we got to get this plug out of here, which is always a bear. There we go. And let's remove the neck board, and you should just really pull straight back. You can also wiggle it very carefully. So let's get all of this out of the way. Just disconnecting everything here. Okay. All right, there's this wire right here. Okay, and there's the degauze circuit right there. And so we should be ready to just yank this guy out of here. So there are two nuts in the front. There's one and two. All right, let's see. Hopefully we have everything disconnected and this just gets out of the way. Okay, so here's our deflection board. And by the way, this is the deflection board, and then this cage over here is the HV. Okay, that's where the flyback is and all the high voltage. And then I have on here the LV2000. Actually, I did a full video on this rebuild. I've rebuilt this monitor already. I rebuilt it back in 2003 or 4, and it's been relatively reliable here. But let's just kind of take a look at the board and make sure nothing stands out and it looks burnt or anything. I don't think we need to reflow any solder on this, because I did do it a long time ago. We might, just for the heck of it, just because we have it out, especially on these header pins here. But you could see that I reflowed this solder a few years ago. And like I said, I did an entire rebuild video on this, where I installed the LV2000, okay, which is a low voltage mod that basically replaces all the parts in this area with a single little modern board. Okay, all right, so here's kind of the lay of the land here. I guess I could have left the neck on the neck board, but whatever. So let's check this transistor to see if it's shorted. And it's not. And by the way, I did test the 30 volts, because you can test the 30. If you put your meter on DC and put positive on the bottle cap on the outside and then negative to ground on the frame, you should get 30 volts. And I actually was not. We might have done that in the last Tempest video. So there's no voltage. And I think that's simply a function of that fuse being blown. I think all that voltage was just killed. Okay, so I guess what I want to do here is I'm just going to go through every transistor regardless of what they are. And also, I do want to look at every socket on here because I remember the last time I rebuilt this thing, okay, I had some issues with the sockets, okay? And I actually did some jumper wires, which was not really a hack. I guess it's kind of a hack here. But you see those jumper wires there? So I think we're going to replace the sockets, especially on the ones that I had to mod, because I basically... Actually, you know what? Okay, I remember now. So when I rebuilt this monitor, the person before me who rebuilt it did these little jumper mods because the sockets were shot, okay? And I basically recreated the mods that he did when I rebuilt it. And I think in this video we're gonna undo these and put new sockets on, especially on this one right here. Maybe we should just do all new sockets. Might as well while we got it out, because I don't really want to mess around with this thing ever again. But what I do want to do is test all the transistors one by one as we remove them. So why don't we just start removing them and see what happens. So let's come over here and just get to the easy ones. And by the way, I labeled all these. 606, 605, this is a 92 PNP, 16 NPN. I did say that this was good because I had some problems with this monitor and I checked the transistors and you could see that I labeled here in 2014, almost 3 years ago, January of 2014, I tested this and it was good because I was having issues. So that's interesting. All right, so let's get to this one here. Let's remove this one since it's just so easy to get to. And we're going to just start testing these one by one and see if, hopefully, what I want to happen here is that we find bad transistors. And, because that way we know. Okay, and here's our old socket, which I think these old sockets are really loose. I really think we should solder on some new sockets. What do you guys think? All right, let's start by testing this one. Okay, so this one right here is a 2N3792, okay? So I made a little cheat sheet, and I tend to do this every single time I work on these monitors. And this really helps me kind of keep everything straight when I'm testing these transistors, okay? And I actually always Google this, like every time, and then just take the information and document it on this paper as kind of a visual aid as we go along. Okay, so you can see what we have going on here. So originally in the monitor, there were 2N3716s, and then the replacement that we're using that Ian Kellogg sent me is the 2N5886. These are the NPNs, the negative, positive, negative transistors. And then originally in the monitor, we had 2N3792s, and then the modern PNP replacement is a 2N5884. Okay, I wrote that down there just so I keep that straight as we go along. Okay, now the pinout of the transistor is right here, base, emitter, and collector. Now, if you look at the transistor, okay, you'll see that there's two little legs here, okay? And if you were to draw a line through the center of this transistor, like I did here in this drawing, if you were to draw a line to the center, you'll see that these two legs are actually north of center. They're not in the center. They're above the center, okay? So that's kind of how we keep track of polarity. So if I just kind of put it on there just like that, it matches our drawing, and then this pin is base, that pin is emitter, and then the body, the whole metal body, is the collector, okay? And then the tests that we're gonna do are all right here, okay? And I wrote them down. And basically we're gonna test base to emitter, and by the way, the first one is always positive, the second one's always negative, okay? We're gonna put our positive lead on base, our negative lead on emitter, and on an NPN, and by the way, in diode test, on an NPN, and by the way, which one was this? This is a PNP. On the PNP, we should get out of range, OL. Okay, and then we do base to collector, we should get out of range. Then we do emitter to base, we should get 0.45 to 0.9, and then collector to base, 0.45 to 0.9, and then collector to emitter, we should get out of range. Okay, so let's go ahead and do those tests one by one. So I'm gonna put my meter on diodes, on the diode test, and I'm just gonna basically just use my cheat sheet and go through it one by one. All right, so the first test is base to emitter, okay? So we're gonna do positive on base, and this is on diode test, okay? So positive on base and negative on emitter, and we should get out of range, and we are. And it can be a little tricky to kind of grab these, but there we go. And I'm just trying to look at my meter. Let's put it up here. And we get out of range, okay? Now the next test is base to collector. Okay, so collector is the body, and that's base. We should get out of range, and we are. Okay, and then emitter to base. Okay, so now positive's on emitter and ground is on base. We should get 0.45. We're not. We are not. Okay, I think we already found a bad transistor. Okay, that's good. And then we should go collector to base. Okay, so collector to base, we should get 0.45, and we don't. Uh-oh, this thing's really blown. And then collector to emitter, we should get out of range, and we do. Interesting. Okay, so this one is bad, guys. This is a bad transistor. We already found one. That's good. I want to find a bad one. And if we're to compare it to a good one here, just for the heck of it, so the 2N5884, I actually want to do this now. So the emitter to base was supposed to be 0.45 to 0.9, okay? So positive on here, and there we go. We get 0.54. And on our other one, we get nothing, okay? That one, that's a bad transistor. I'm actually very happy about that. We found a bad transistor. So, all right, so let's kind of look at the socket, and I actually, let me go in the basement and get my sockets, because I do want to replace those. Like I said, I just want to be done with this. It's just 3 wires anyway, so I don't think it's a big deal to replace this. Yeah, let me go get some sockets and we'll come right back. Okay, I went and grabbed my bag of 6100 parts, and this is actually how I organize all my stuff. Every time I get kits and all that, I throw that in the bag labeled with the monitor name, and we got the John's Arcade 6100 rebuild kits here that you can get at iankellogg.com. And then I have a bunch of old stuff here I ordered from Bob Roberts throughout the years. I mean, Bob is still a great resource, don't get me wrong here. He's got a lot of really hard to find stuff. So here's his sockets that he sells. So I don't think this is going to be really hard to do. I think it's just 3 wires. I don't know if I've ever, I bought these sockets with the intention of replacing these. And so we have in this little bag here, a new socket, 2 new screws, and a new mica, okay? And let's just kind of take a look here at it. Okay, so here's the new socket, and it's labeled base and emitter, okay? And I guess we can deduce the center one is collector, okay? And let's kind of take a look at the old one. And I think that if we just kind of line up the holes, it'll just be pretty obvious how this goes. So the holes are right here. So let me take a look at this. Let's match this up to our drawing. I just don't want to make a mistake here. Okay, so this is going to go in. Now you can't really put these in wrong because the pins are off-centered there. So it's going to go in like that, right? And that's base and that's emitter. Okay, got it. And so if I were to take this and kind of rotate it like this, it's going to go like that. And then if I were to match it up with that, okay, I got it. So let's just do 1 wire at a time here. So let's cut off the white one here. And I'll do the first couple of these with you guys, and then maybe we'll do the rest off camera. Where are my side cutters? This isn't really that hard. Like any of this stuff that we do, it's just time consuming. Time is a very valuable asset that I have little of. All right, let's do the white wire. So I'm just going to trim this off as close to the socket as I can. And then let's strip it back. Okay, just like so. And let's take our new one. Try not to get too much of that heatsink compound on there. So again, I want to match these up. Yeah, I just don't want to make a mistake. So this one goes here. I think I need a little more wire. All right. So we'll just feed it through the hole here and I'll wrap it around and then we'll solder it on. Okay, so there's our base. I mean, that's our emitter, sorry. Just being a little anal here. I just do not want to screw this up. Okay, everything looks good. So let me just throw some solder on here. So let's kind of come down here and solder this part on. I'm all tangled up. Get my soldering iron closer here. This is kind of awkward. This is really awkward. And just heating the tab up. I probably should get some of those helping hand things. Alright, it's flowing now. Just going to keep it on there till it flows to the wire. Alright. And let's kind of double check our work here. Alright, that looks good. These sockets, I guess they're meant to just kind of have a little bit of play in them. Alright, so let's do the middle wire. Okay, so the middle one can't really screw up too easily. So this middle one doesn't have a hole. So let's just kind of wrap it around the post here so that it stays on while we solder it. Okay. And now let's come in with our iron and apply some heat. It's moving all over the place. There we go. Okay. There's wire number 2. And is that on there good? Yeah, it is. Okay, and let's do the last one. And I'll go through the hole and then wrap this around like so. Now let's heat it up and put our new solder on. Super awkward. Okay. All right, so we have our 3 wires on. Let's kind of take a look at our work. Just make sure we got good solder joints. Make sure nothing is touching, nothing it's not supposed to be touching. And I would say that looks pretty good. What do you guys think here? Kind of take a look here. I think that looks good. Okay, so now we're ready to install our new transistor, our new mica, and a little bit of heatsink compound. And I'm going to clean off the frame because it's really dirty with the old compound. And you can see the old compound is really on there. come on the inside here and wipe it off. So I wonder if we should get a little bit of alcohol maybe and see if we can just wipe all that old compound off, because that's, it probably won't hurt anything, but if we're going to put new compound, I don't really want the old stuff to interfere with it. So I'm just using a little alcohol and a paper towel here and just try to clean it up the best I can. This is 91% isopropyl. I'm actually taking all my little notes off of here. All right, I think that's good. Okay, so now let's take our new mica and our new transistor. Okay, so the one that we removed was a 792. And according to my cheat sheet here, our replacement PNP is the 5884, okay? So let me go over here and let's grab a 5884, which is this one. And let's put a little bit of heatsink compound on here. Now this here is silicone heatsink compound. This is not the same as like Arctic Silver. You know, I think this is non-conductive, whereas Arctic Silver is. I actually did buy this from Bob Roberts like years ago, and it has lasted forever. So we're gonna just put a little bit on here. It doesn't take much. I used to always put too much on. And then let's take our new mica. And again, you know, there's a right way and a wrong way, so we got to make sure this lines up off center with the pins north of center, okay? And let's just kind of put that on there like so. And you can see how that stuff just spreads out. And let's put a little bit on this side too, where it makes contact with the frame. Okay, so let's kind of line this up. And again, you can see how this is off center. So it's going to go on like that. And we got to make sure, and this is really important, that when you line this up, the pins do not touch the frame, no matter what, okay? Because the frame has holes like that and the pins go through it, okay? And if it's too far to the side, one side, it'll actually short to the frame. And we're going to test that with our meter to make sure, but let's kind of take a look here. I think that looks pretty good. And if we come on the other side here, you can see how it looks. And then let's take our two brand new screws that Bob included and put those in there. And then let's tighten this up. And then after we tighten it, we're going to make sure we're not shorted to ground, that the pins are not touching. Okay. All right, so that one's in. So let's take our meter and we're going to put it on continuity here, and I'm going to make sure that we're not shorted at all to the... Looks good. And I'm just kind of scratching this on here because I don't like this powder coating they put on here. And I can come on the inside here and just kind of touch the pins. Make sure they're not grounded. That's good. Just kind of testing continuity to our connections here. So this blue wire goes to this pin, and that's good. And then this one goes to this pin. That's good. And the purple wire goes to the bottle cap frame. That's good. All right, so I think that one was installed well. Okay, so let's now move on to the next one. So far we found one bad transistor. I'm actually very, very, very happy we did. Because what stinks is when you do all this and you don't find bad parts. We want to find bad parts. So now you can see here that I tested that one in 2014. And also this one has a bit of a hack on it. So we're going to have to undo the hack. So let me just unscrew this. So I'll do this next one with you guys, and then I'll probably just keep rinsing and repeating here. So this one here, see, the pins are soldered to this. It's not going to just come right out. So I'm going to have to desolder it. This is probably going to stink. I wonder if I get my solder sucker and we try to suck the solder off of it. Yeah, like I said, I remember when I did this because I recreated the little mod that someone did before me, which was adding these little jumper wires because the socket was probably bad. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and we're going to desolder this leg here. And I'm going to use my solder sucker to hopefully. Okay, so that's that one. And then let's get the next one here. I remember this was a real pain in the butt to recreate. All right, so those are off. Let's see if this thing pops off now. This is going to be a bear. Here it comes. All right, we got it off. Okay, and you could see the mods that were done. So someone added a wire that basically jumped this yellow wire to the pin of the transistor, okay? Basically bypassing the socket part of this. And same thing with this over here, because you could see that that socket is so stretched out that it wasn't making good contact. Okay, so let's test this transistor to see if it's good or bad. And this one here is a 3716. And the 3716 is an NPN. And so let's put this on diode test. I want to get the... And we'll do this the same way we did the other one. So let me get my cheat sheet here. And we'll line this up so these pins are north of center, okay? And so again, this is a 3716, which is an NPN. So we're going to do the NPN tests, which are over here. So base to emitter, we should be getting a reading of 0.45 to 0.9. Okay, so positive goes on base. That one's bad too. Holy cow. This is a bad one too. Wow, what took all these out? All right. Base to collector, we should get a reading of 0.45. We do. No, we don't. That one's shorted too. Unbelievable. Emitter to base should be out of range. It's not. Collector to base should be out of range. It's not. Collector to emitter should be out of range. So this thing is just hosed in every in every single way. My God. So that's a 3716, and we're going to replace it with a 5886, okay, which is right here. That's the 5886. And again, let's do the test on this and just see how it behaves. Because this is the reading we should have got, 0.5. And then base to collector should be 0.5. Yep, it is. Emitter to base should be out of range. And it is. Collector to base should be out of range. And it is. And then collector to emitter should be out of range. And it is. So that's how it should test if it's good. And it's not. So we got some real problems going on here, don't we? So I really hope there's not some bigger issue that took all of those out, by the way. Who knows? All right, so let's work on replacing this socket now, and it's right here. And again, I'll do this with you guys, and then I'll kind of move on, and just because it's going to be a lot of rinsing and repeating after this. So let's get our new mica insulator, our new socket, and our new screws, and then let's line all of this up. Okay. So like that. Just making sure the pins are all lined up. Okay. Okay, so let's do the green wire first, which is base. Green is base. Green is base. Green is base. Green is base. Alright, so let's cut green. Strip it. Green is base. Okay. And let's go ahead and solder that on there. Ah, it fell off. Green is base. Green is base. Green is base. Alright. Just kind of get that to stay in place, please. And let's just carefully come in here. These are a real pain in the butt. Okay. I think that's good. Let's kind of double check our work here. That looks great. Okay. So let's go on to the next one. Let's do the middle one, which is right here. Alright, so here's our new. Just kind of wrap this around here. Okay. Just stay in place. I really do need to get some of those helping hands. It's like a little like tweezer thing that would hold that part for me while I solder it. Because this is just wacky. Come on, stay on there. Okay. Let's see if that worked. Yep, that's good. Okay, let's do our next one, which is the emitter. So we must have had some kind of catastrophic failure here with these transistors. It's just crazy that so far we're 2 for 2 with bad transistors. Okay. There's that one. I really hope that's all it is that the transistors took themselves and the fuse out, and that when we put this all back together that it just works and I can move on with my life. Because I don't want to keep working on this. All right. Let that cool. Okay, let's kind of double check our work here. And that looks really good. That looks good. Looks good. Nothing's touching anything else. I think we're all set. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our replacement transistor, which should be this one right here, because that was a 716 and we're putting in an 886. And that is definitely the case. I actually labeled it on here. NPN, yep, NPN. So this is 5886. 2N 5886. Yep, that's a 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a little bit of heatsink compound on. Let's put our new mica on. Okay. And then we'll just put a little tiny dab on the outside here. Okay. And then let's clean up the old opening here. Again, I'm just going to use paper towel here and just get as much of this off as we can. Alright, I think that's good. Alright, and then again, you know, you can see the holes here are favoring this side. So we got to make sure that we do the same when we put it on. And then let's take our new one here and let's put our new socket in here, like so. And then just kind of lining this all up. Doesn't want to go through that hole at all. This, darn it, look at, I don't know if there's solder on here. This opening is completely closed up on this one. There's something wrong with this pin. This socket has a problem, guys. This, do you see how that is completely closed up? And it really looks like there's, did I get solder in that? Ah, darn it. Did I really? All right, let's see if I can get it out of there. I must have done that. I just cleared it out. Yeah, I must have got solder inside that. So I guess be careful. I didn't know that was even an option to get solder inside the socket pinhole. All right, let's just make sure I didn't compromise this wire though. Did a little bit. So this yellow wire here, let me just put some more heat on this and kind of get that in a better spot. Okay, and I think we should be okay now. There we go. All right, we're in. So let's go ahead and just screw it back on using the new screws. All right, we're nice and snug. So let's kind of double check our work now with the meter. Put it on continuity test and make sure we're not grounded. And we're not touching anything here. No, we're not. That's good. Now I'm gonna come on the other side here and I'm just gonna kind of just probe around here to make sure all the connections are making sense. So the green wire right here goes to this pin. Okay, that's good. And then the yellow wire goes to this pin. That's good. And then the red wire goes to the, that's good. And let's just make sure nothing's grounded to itself. You know, that the green is not grounded to the red and the red is not to the yellow. Okay, so that looks like a good install there. And just double check again. All right, so we got 2 done. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go on and do the next 4. Exactly the same way, no different. So far we've done an NPN and a PNP. I'm gonna go on and do the other 2 NPNs and the other 2 PNP transistors. If I see anything along the way, I'll let you guys know, I'll come back. But if it's just business as usual, I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna replace them all. And actually, one thing you gotta note here though is that in order to replace the bottom ones, you gotta put the tube down. It's kind of a pain in the butt. So let me show you, because we're gonna have to just flip the whole tube up like that. And I usually just put the tube face down on the table here. This is a plastic table, nothing's gonna get scratched. All right, actually, you know what? Why don't we at least test these together? Let's just do this one really quick. This is the 2N3792. So let's test this one really quick together. 2N3792, which is the PNP. All right. Okay, so let's do the test here. Again, this is the PNP. And so base to emitter, we should get out of range. Okay. This one's bad too? Are you kidding me? Oh no, I had to put it on diode. Oh my God. This is bad too. All these are bad. This is crazy. Base to collector should be out of range. That's bad. Emitter to base should be 0.45 to 0.9. That's bad. Collector to base should be 0.45 to 0.9. Bad. Collector to emitter should be out of range. Bad. Well, guys, we found yet another bad transistor. I cannot believe this. And then we're going to replace this with the 5884, which is this guy right here. I mean, I don't know why I'm doing this again, but just to prove a point here. So this should be out of range. Yep. And then base to collector should be out of range. Yep. Emitter to base should be 0.45 to 0.9, and it is. And then collector to base should be 0.4, and it is. And then collector to emitter should be out of range, and it is. So that's how it should have tested, and that is not how it tested. Unbelievable. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead, replace that and the socket exactly the same way. The only difference is I have to put the monitor on. I'm going to have to put the monitor on its tube to do this, which isn't too bad. Just be careful. Don't do something stupid when you do this. And then here's the socket here. And so I put all kinds of notes on the bottom here, by the way. So you could see that I rebuilt this thing in December of 2013. That's when I did all of this. And I labeled everything base emitter collector, base emitter collector. I was just trying to keep everything straight. Really crazy that all these are bad. Something really bad happened to this monitor. And I really, really hope it's just that the transistors took each other out, which in turn blew the fuse. I have no idea. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and replace that socket exactly the same way, and I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna be testing all these transistors and replacing sockets as needed. And if I see anything, I'll come back. All right, guys, I'm back. I just removed this one right here, okay, which is an NPN. It's the 2N3716, and I'm testing it right now. And I did test it really quick. I started to, and I realized I should record it. It was starting to test good, actually. So, again, this is the 716. So let's do base to emitter. We should be getting 0.45. We do, okay. Base to collector, we should get the same. We do. Emitter to base should be out of range. It is. And then collector to base should be out of range. It is. And then collector to emitter should be out of range. And it is. So that one was good. So I'm still replacing it. Because I kind of have a little more faith in these new ones that Ian sourced. So this is the 716. We're looking for a 5886 right here, which is this one right here. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead, replace the transistor in the socket, just like I did the other three, and then I'll come back and let you guys know how the other two, because there's two more left after this. We're chugging along. All right, I'm chugging along here. I'm actually on the last one. And I just pulled this out and I just tested it, and this one's good. So I think that we ended up with 3 bad and 3 good. I'm wondering if those 3 that were bad were all on the same circuit. I think it's highly likely. Because I think that this monitor is divided into 2 sections, the X and the Y. So maybe one of my one section, either the X or the Y, had a catastrophic failure with one of the transistors that took out the rest of them on the circuit. I don't know. That's my guess. So anyway, it's going pretty well here. It looks great. It looks neat, right? Look at that, huh? And I think I'm doing a really good job here. So I'm going to keep going. I got one more to do, and then we're done, and then we're ready to test this. Are you excited? All right, I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm done. I did all of them. And so I guess at the end of the day, we had 3 that were bad and 3 that were good. And here's the old sockets. I mean, they were just kind of messy and sloppy. So I think it's a really good idea long-term here that we replace these, because they were just kind of ugly. And they felt a little hacky, too, when I was removing them. Like, it's like I made... I feel like the work now and the presentation is so much neater than how it was with these old sockets. So I'm going to throw all this stuff out here, and I do want to document on the frame that we did all of this work today, just like I did before. I mean, I think it's helpful and useful to have this on here, especially if you can't keep track of everything you do, like me. So I'm going to come down here. What is today's date? What is today? Let me just check my phone here. So today is the 8th. So I'm going to say 10, 8, 16, all new sockets and transistors. Love, John. And we'll draw like a little me. What do you think, Shai? I'll do that. What do you think? You like it? Who cares? It's a whole bunch of fun down here. Now I have 1 left over. That's weird. I guess there was 7 in that little bag, huh? You know what? I remember back in the day when I was ordering. I ordered these parts from Bob Roberts like years ago, and I used to always order extra because I was always afraid that I was going to ruin something. And I probably ordered 1 more socket than I needed. So all right, now we got to put the monitor back together. We just kind of neaten up here. Heatsink compound is really messy. Okay, so let's put the monitor carefully on its frame. All right. And let's just put it all back together. So let's get our deflection board. Now we do have to replace that fuse. I suppose we could do that right now. Can't forget to do that. So the fuse that we were blowing was F600. I actually had Ian Kellogg send me some. So I've got a supply of those now because I actually ran out of them. There we go. So let's replace this fuse right here, which is a 3 amp standard blow fuse. It's not a slow blow. And Ian sent me slow blow. I think that the upgrade kits were using the slow blows. So we'll do that. There is a whole bunch of documented, recommended changes for these monitors, and I'm pretty sure that one of them was to put this slow blow in here. I can't read it. I'm just trying to make sure this is a 3 amp. I think it says 3.5. Let me double check something real quick. All right, I talked to Ian, and he said this is actually a 3 amp slow blow fuse. I cannot read the text. It's like microscopic. He said the manual originally called for a fast blow. He likes to use the slow blows. He said the transistors can take 20 amps. It's fine. It's a nice little upgrade, whatever. So I'll trust him on this. I know that if you read the 6100 FAQ, it really talks about upgrading a lot of parts and the fuses. So he's suggesting to use the slow blow here. We'll do it. I think it's low risk anyway, is what he's trying to say, is that the transistors are so robust that fast blow, slow blow doesn't matter. This just gives you a little bit more of a tolerance, I guess. So anyway, the slow blow's in there, 3 amp, and we're ready to put this back together. So let's kind of put the board in, screw it down. I guess I'll do the degauss wire first, because it's easy for, which is these 2 wires right here. And again, you know, if you took your photo, this would be the time to pull it out. All right, so let's put this in here. This really better fix it, guys. That's all I have to say. All right, so this one goes where? Now I gotta remember how this goes. Alright, so this goes here. Actually, let me screw this down first. Let's get those 2 screws that we removed and put this all back together here. So it took me a while to do all those sockets and transistors. What time did I start? It's almost 7 o'clock. Jeez. It took me a couple hours to do that. I really took my time and was super careful though, because I don't want to mess with this again. I want to get this right the first time, and I really hope that we fixed it and that's it. Okay, so let's figure out where this stuff goes here. This I think goes to the neck board. Like that. Okay. And let's see here. Maybe I should have took a photo. Okay, this one, oh here, this goes. Wow, this is really confusing me. Just put this underneath here. Okay. And then, so we got these 2 right here. Wow, things don't seem to want to just go in where I think they want to go. Alright, so this one goes here. Okay. And then this one is going to go here. These are keyed, so you can't really put them in the wrong spot. But just make sure that you don't accidentally shift the connectors over, you know, 1 pin left and 1 pin right. It's kind of easy to do sometimes. And then these 3 wires here are actually labeled black, brown, and white on the deflection board. So black goes here, brown goes here, and then white goes here. Okay, and then this here goes like that. All right, and then this one here is keyed, goes like this. And then this should be our last connector, which is keyed, and it should wrap around and go in here. Okay, and then there's a connector right here that is also keyed, goes right there. All right, so I'm double checking my work and making sure everything's in, making sure nothing's shifted, and 1 pin is on one end and the other pin's on the other end. It's not hanging over, off, whatever. Okay. All right, this all looks good. So let's put our neck board on. Just kind of push that in place. And that's it, guys. We're ready to try this. Actually, I gotta put my anode back on. I'm actually a little nervous right now. What if I didn't fix it? I don't want to deal with this again. I want to be done. So guys, I want you to pray to the arcade gods right now that we fixed it. Okay, so let's just kind of look around again. I'm just double checking my work. I always do this. You'd be surprised what you can find just by looking. You know, I just spent a couple hours doing this. What's an extra 30 seconds right now going to cost me? Just, you know, I'm looking carefully all around, and everything looks pretty good. I'm going to come out here and what is today again? 10. Was it the 8th? I'm just going to write on there 10/18/16 new to match our bottom note. Okay, so we're ready to try this out. So let me bring this into the basement, and I'll meet you guys down there, and let's see if we fixed the Tempest. I'm weirdly nervous. I am. Why am I nervous? I mean, we definitely found 3 bad parts, so I don't know. Let's go. Let's go to the basement. All right, guys, we're back in the basement, and it's the moment of truth here. Let me put the monitor in, and yeah, I'm just gonna put it in. We're gonna go for it. So I gotta make sure I put it in the right way here. I guess there's only one way it can go in. So let me grab it, and we're gonna carefully put it in here. The control panel needs to come down. All right, here we go. So let's put it in. My big fear right now. Hang on, let me put it in first and we'll talk. I need to concentrate. The game should be off. Oh, actually, let me make the connection in the back here real quick. So, remember we have one single connector here, which is this guy right here. So let's go ahead and connect that in. Okay. That fuse looks toasty, doesn't it? It's not though, we tested it. All right. Here's my big fear right now. Whatever took those transistors out is still lurking on the board. That's my big fear, okay? The theory I have is the transistors killed each other. Is that plausible? I like to think it is. So let me plug it in. And guys, cross your fingers, please, for me. It's plugged in. All right, we're about to turn it on. I'm gonna look in the back and watch the spot killer. You guys watch the front. All right, here we go. No spot killer. I think we got it. Please, please, please. Show me, Tempest. No, the board is... Look at, what is this? The board isn't on. God bless America. So, what's happening here? The cone lights are not flashing. Why is that? Oh man, please, I don't want to mess around with this anymore. Let me just look back here. We got our new edge connector. It's on. Remember, the game was playing blind before. Spot killer's not on. Okay, the cone lights are flashing now. Why is it just in the corner here? What is going on? What is happening? Unless... I'm thoroughly confused right now. What is going on here? I mean, I don't think that we bumped. What is happening? I'm completely stumped right now. I don't know what that is. What is that? Do you guys see what's happening here? Is this a stupid connection issue or something? Let me play around with this. Okay, I just played with the X size and Y size on the PCB to see if maybe we bumped something, and it changed into this. It's kind of behaving like we have bad transistors still. I'm adjusting the X size and Y size pots on the game PCB. Now what's it doing? So nothing's really changing because all of the geometry adjustments are on the PCB, not on the monitor. So I'm just playing with Y size, Y center, X size, and X center just to see if something happens here. Here's a crazy thought too. The edge connector work is bad. You know? Let me reseat the edge connector again. We also have Adam's board still. Let me put in Adam's board and just see if anything is different at all. Just so we can remove variables here. What just happened? Really bizarre. Alright, I just plugged Adam's board in and it's doing the same exact thing, so... I need to think about this. I really need to think about this because, like, I'm tempted to take this monitor and put it in quantum, because then we can remove the variable that is the harness, okay? This, you know, because we recrimped the harness, right? Could I have done a bad crimp on the video signal, you know, which is causing this? It's entirely possible, right? And I just feel like I need to remove that variable and verify that what's happening here is a monitor issue and not a board issue. Well, obviously it's not a board issue because we swapped boards out. So is it a harness issue because we repinned it? Is there a bad crimp somewhere? You know, it's entirely possible, you know. All right, let me think about this. I'm thinking about pulling quantum out right now, which sounds like torture. It's a big, heavy game. But I think it'll allow us to get to the bottom of this. Hang on. All right, guys, it's the next day here, and yes, we are back in the garage. And by the way, I have the heater going because it's actually really cold and rainy right now. And it's definitely that time of the year. This heater actually rocks. It's a propane heater. I came out here, the garage was really chilly, and right now I got it up to about 70 degrees, and it was about in the 50s when I came out here. So I think I'm gonna turn this off, but I love this thing. This is a great thing. So let's turn it off. And, okay, so what's going on? So I'm going to tell you guys, I slept on this. I thought about this. I researched this. I talked to some friends. So I talked to Ian Kellogg, and I told him what was going on, and just to kind of pick his brain. And he told me to check the amplifiers, okay, which are these 4 transistors right here on these heat sinks. I also talked to my friend Walt, told him what was happening. He said the same exact thing, okay? And then I also went and looked at the 6100 FAQ, okay? And the amplifiers that are right here are MPS U07 and MPS U57 transistors, okay? And in the FAQ, it talks about these. There was one section that said that there'd be like weird stuff on the screen, okay? And spot killer would not be on, okay? And it said to check those transistors. So that was one section in the FAQ. Another section said that symptom, display dead after a cap kit, okay? That's kind of what we got going on here. You know, it is dead. I mean, we could turn up the screen and see something going on. But anyway, this kind of piqued my interest, though, because it said cap kit installed, but still no picture. And it says the spot killer may or may not light. Okay, now that was the one thing that was really like freaking me out. You know, why was the spot killer not coming on? Because it should have came on, right? And what was even weirder was if I unplug the PCB, okay, if I had the game board unplugged, the spot killer was still not coming on. And I don't know what to make of that. That's really weird, okay? Because the spot killer is supposed to come on if there's no video signal, right? So anyway, going on here, it says here, the problem is, it says if after a cap kit, which we didn't do a cap kit, but we did a cap kit before to replace these transistors. Anyway, it says the problem is most likely Q603, which is one of these transformers here. It goes on, occasionally you will see Q603, 703, 604, and 704 go bad. If one of those dies, be sure to check all the resistors and diodes around it, particularly R611, R612, and D602. It says a common modern day replacement, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I want to check these because I need some direction, and this is the direction I have. And like I said, I talked to 2 people, and they both independently said the same thing. So that's a good clue, right? So pro tip, talk to people who are smarter than you, or just talk to people in general and kind of pick people's brains. I've done that tons just on forums, you know. Hey, this is happening, you know, what can I do? You know, we have a lot of discussion like that on the John's Arcade forum, you know, where everyone kind of puts their brains together and says, hey, I've had something like that happen to me. So I'm going to come here and just take the anode off because we got to get the deflection board off. And, you know, last night I felt really defeated. I did. But I'm like, you know what? I need to stop. I need to get away from this thing. I need to think about this. I need to research. I need to talk to people. I just needed to come out here today with a clear mind. And, you know, I was going to keep working last night on this, and I kind of talked myself out of it. I'm like, no, just stop. Walk away. Come back today. So, you know, the one thing I do want to just double check is the fuses, just for the heck of it. That fuse is dead. Son of a gun, we blew 700 now. We've got a F700's dead. No. What does that mean? I'm going to research the FAQ real quick and just see what it says about F700. Why is F700 blown now? So F600 is not blowing, almost like we fixed that, right? But now we've got another fuse that's blowing. Could that be related to those to the other transistors. Yeah, F700's blown. I'm going to just take a quick peek at the 6100 FAQ and see what that says about that. Okay, I just did a little bit of research here. The 6100 FAQ, I couldn't find anything about that F700, but I'm reading here from Claw. There was a post about this. Someone saying that usually it's DC on the outputs that blow that yoke fuse. So this fuse that blow is the X horizontal section, and when this blows, it blows to protect the yoke. And it says that, and it can come from the game board or the MPS U57 and U07 on the deflection board, which are the transistors we're about to replace. So, all right, we're going to continue down this path, replacing those transistors, because this kind of confirms here on CLOV that the U57 and the U07 transistors can blow this one. So this one blew before because we had catastrophic failure. I think that this is the Y, the 600's the Y, and the 700's the X. And when we had these two transistors that went over here, those I believe were all part of the Y circuit, which is why it took out the 600. I don't know, you know, we're just kind of figuring this stuff out here as we go, but by the way, I did double, triple, quadruple check my work last night to make sure that I had the right wires on the right transistors and the right transistors in the right spots, and we truly do. I mean, we'll double check it again now that we're outside, because I was kind of checking it when it was in the game. But I do believe that my work on those frame transistors was good. I don't think I screwed that up. I really don't. But we might take a look at it as we go here. All right, so let's get the deflection board out. So let's disconnect this. So we're gonna just kind of test all these parts around those transistors, and also test the transistors individually. You know, I'm really hoping that we do find bad parts. Okay. All right, so the board is free, and let's just kind of double check here. So the yellow, red, and green wires are supposed to go to the NPN transistor, okay, which is the 886, okay, so that's the 886 right here, and then the blue, purple, and white go to the PNP, which is our 84. Okay, so those two are correct. Okay, I did this exercise last night. Okay, just to really make sure. And then if we look on the bottom here, so right now I've got 8.6s and 8.6 right here, and then 8.4s and 8.4s. So the two middle ones should have the yellow, red, and green wires going to them. And they do, right? See that? Yellow, green, and red. And then the two outside ones are the PNPs, and they have the white, purple, and the blue. And I'm just going to just quickly inspect my work just to make sure nothing is really jumping out at me now that I have this upside down and I can look at it very clearly. Okay, so purple goes to the middle, blue goes to base, white goes to emitter. Okay, that's all good. Here we have red going to collector, red going to collector, yellow going to emitter, and green going to base. So I'm very consistent with all of that. So I really don't think I screwed these transistors up. I was very, very, very careful. So blue and green is the base, white and yellow is the emitter, and purple and red is the collector. Look at me with all my notes down here. I put a lot of notes on the bottom of this thing. Blue and green is base, white and yellow is emitter, purple and red is collector, and I know the camera was not adjusted properly, but I went through here and just kind of double checked. Yellow emitter, green base, and then blue base. So all those wires are right. And then if I look over here, collector's purple and red, and I'm just looking over here, those are all right. And then green is base. Yep, green is base, and then yellow's collector. So I don't know. I did that right. I did those transistors correctly. I really don't think I screwed that up. I'm a little worried that we blew the fuse though, and maybe took out those frame transistors. That would kind of stink. We'll see. Okay, so let's go ahead here and get to work. I'm gonna plug in my desoldering iron and my soldering iron. Let me let them heat up and I'll come back. All right, while we're waiting for the soldering iron to heat up here, I did also read that the power transistors can take out F700, so I am going to just double check those, and I looked it up, and the power transistors are this one, are these two right here, so this one and this one. So I'm going to just kind of see if we can test these in circuit maybe. I don't see why we can't do this, right? Because everything's really unplugged. So let's go ahead and test this one and this one right here. And we're going to do just the same test that we did before. And let's see how it behaves. So let's do, so this is the PNP right here. So let's go base to emitter. Base to emitter should give us that. Yeah, PNP should be out of range. Base to emitter, out of range. And then let's go base to collector, out of range. And then let's go, let's see, emitter to base, we should get a reading. And we do. Collector to base, we get a reading, and we do. Collector to emitter, we should get nothing. So collector to emitter, and we don't. So that one is good still. And then let's go ahead and test the other power transistor. So this one is an NPN. So let's go base to emitter, and we should get a reading, and we do. And let's go base to collector, and we should get a reading, and we do. And then let's go emitter to base, we should get out of range, and we get that. And then let's go to collector to base, we should get out of range, and we get that. And then if we go collector to emitter, we should get nothing, and we don't. So those two are still good. So that fuse blowing did not take those out. That's good. So we can take that off the list, and we could sleep now. I wonder if I should check the other ones. Maybe we'll do that later before we put it back together, just for the heck of it. All right, so what we're going to replace right now and test are these guys. The four that are on the heat sinks here. And these are amplifiers. And let's see how they're held on here. So we can unscrew them or take the whole heatsink off with it. I typically tend to take the whole heatsink, but we could probably, let's see if we unscrew these. It's not really easy to get to though. I think I'm going to take the whole heatsink off. Which means I got to desolder this and these. Let's just see how this goes. And so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get with this. I almost need my solder sucker to get these guys off. So we've got how many? 2 big tabs for each. So let me get my soldering iron and my solder pullet, and let's just heat those up. I'm really curious to see if these are bad. This is not going to be easy, is it? Heat this up. Yeah, we might be able to heat it up and pull it out. Ow. So there's these big tabs here that are holding this heatsink on here. I'm actually lifting this trace. Should probably get some flux. Let me get some flux and see if that helps our situation. So I grabbed a flux pen. Actually, Tothwolf sent me this a while ago, so thanks, pal. So let's try not to get too much on here. I know you guys are probably yelling at the computer right now, but there's not actually an easy way to get to the screw here. I mean, do you see this? There's going to be no way to easily get to all these screws to just leave the heatsink where it is. So I'm just going to try to just heat it up and pull it out. Now I'm lifting this pad right here. That pad is not essential, by the way. It doesn't do anything except hold the heatsink. It might have been lifted already. Okay, here we go. Just gonna heat it up and pull it out. Come on, come out. There we go. All right, we got it out. And then we'll just have to clean this up. So that pad's totally lifted, but okay, so this is R603. So this is the one that the manual says could be bad. The 6100 says. The 6100 FAQ says. So let's get a screwdriver here. Let's remove this. And you can see it's screwed onto this heatsink. This is the U57 MPS. Let's get our new part. And these parts here I had from Bob Roberts. I ordered these a long time ago, and thankfully I had them in stock. So this is, again, the U57. So we've got a U57 and a U07, and it's against the, that's a U07. And then here's the 57 right here. And it's labeled emitter base collector. So let's see if we can just test this thing using the same test that we used for the larger transistors. It should work out exactly the same. All right, so let's just bring this part over here and we'll do our little tests again. And I'm going to assume that this part here has emitter base collector labeled, the new part, but the old part does not. So I'm just going to assume that it's the same pinout emitter base collector. Now these are really tiny little leads here, so we're going to have to just be careful or just take our time trying to just touch them. So this is the U57. I looked it up. It's a PNP, so we're going to follow the PNP tests. So let's go base to emitter, and we should get no reading at base to emitter. Let me put this over here so you guys can see it. So we're going to do base to emitter. And we should get out of range. It's just hard. I should probably get some little alligator clips. I wonder if I can do that. Hang on a second. All right, I grabbed some little alligator clip leads. This will probably be a lot easier, right? So, base to emitter. Okay, emitter is this one. And then base is the middle one. Okay, out of range. That's good. Okay, so now we go base to collector. So base should be the middle one. And then collector is going to be the outside one. Okay, we were getting a reading there we shouldn't have. Alright, this thing's hosed. Where is it? No, we're getting no reading. Out of range. Such a hard part to read. Just double check. Yeah, we're getting no reading there. All right, and then emitter to base. So emitter is this one. And base is the middle one. We should get a reading. We do. And then let's go collector to base. Collector. We should get a reading. And we do. And then collector to emitter should be out of range. And it is. So this part is good. But we got 3 more to go. But this is the one that the FAQ says is probably bad. I don't know if that's maybe the Y, though. That could be the Y one. The X one could be the next one. I don't know. But let's replace it anyway, just because we can and we have it out. So I'm going to go ahead and just unscrew this, I think. I need to find a little screwdriver. I don't know if we can just do this. Okay. And so our new part is a lot bigger. It has a much bigger, robust heatsink there. So we're going to have to go into one of the taller, the higher up screws. But let's just kind of compare where the legs ended up. They were, you know, about a 1/4 inch below that heatsink. So let's do the same thing. Actually, there's only one way it can go on, like that. All right, let me get a little bit of thermal paste. And I guess we'll install this just so we can keep it straight. Go ahead and put a little dab of this on here. Okay, just screw it down. I really wish that part was bad, don't you? I do think, though, that the there's 4 of those transistors, and 2 of them are for the X, and 2 of them are for the Y. So this could have been for the Y, and I think our Y circuit's fine. So I don't think that means anything yet. All right, let me wipe this up. I made a mess here. Let me get some paper towel. So we're going to solder this back in, and then I'll go ahead and remove the next one by myself, and then we'll test it together, unless you guys want to suffer through watching me desolder the the heatsink again. So on the board here, it's labeled emitter base collector. Actually, while we have this out, I'm gonna look at the FAQ again because it said to test a few parts. Let me see which ones those were. All right, actually, I'm looking at the manual. I mean, at the 6100 FAQ here, and basically 603 and 604 are for the Y, and then 703 and 704 are for the X, which is the fuse we blew, which makes sense. We blew the 700 fuse, not the 600 fuse. This was a 600 part, so I'm guessing that the 600 parts and the 600 fuses are on the same circuit. Anyway, it goes on here to say to check 611, 612, and diode 602. So let's check those real quick in circuit. I'm just gonna do some like spot checks on those. So 611 and 612, which are right here and right here. Let's just test those in circuit and just see if just make sure we get some kind of a normal looking reading out of them. And if anything looks suspicious, then we'll consider replacing them. So let's put this on ohms. Okay, so 612, 3.5 ohms. I'm guessing that's right. 611, 10 ohms. I guess I could look at the part list here, and then here's that diode 602. I'm testing this in circuit. I know you're not supposed to, but I just want to see if we get anything funky from this. Yeah, you can't test diodes in the circuit. I just thought I'd try it. I'm going to guess that those diodes are fine. I suppose we could desolder one of the legs. But these resistors seem to be right. This 611 was 10 ohms. Let's compare it to the 711 back here. Yeah, 10 ohms. So, and that's 10 ohms. And then the 612 is 3.5 ohms. And let's try the 613. 3.5 ohms. 712. 3.5 ohms. So it looks like these resistors are all good. 3.5 ohms. Okay, so I guess the question is do I want to desolder the diodes? Because it's 602 and 702. Maybe we'll check 702 back there if we find these transistors are bad. I probably should desolder. I'm guessing that our problem is going to be in the 700 area. All right, anyway, let's kind of put this back on here. And if we look on the board, it's labeled emitter base collector. Let's just double check. Yep, the part is also labeled the same exact way. So the pinouts match. And let's just kind of carefully get this in here. We may have to clean these holes better. That looks pretty good, actually. There we go. Oh, this tab's bent. That's why it's not working. Okay, it's in. Alright, and this pad here is completely blown out. I'm not really worried about it, to be honest with you. It has no function. Okay, so let's solder this down real quick. I really hope we find bad parts here. All right, let's solder this. Throw a little bit of flux on here to help us out. Alright, let's come in here and get these guys. These are small little pads, so I just want to make sure I don't bridge anything. Okay, I'm going to take my multimeter now, put it on continuity, and just make sure I didn't bridge those. Nope. No. No and no. Okay. And then I'm going to take my side cutters and just trim those back. And again, you know, whenever you trim this stuff, you're going to cut above the solder. Okay, so the first one's replaced. I'm going to go ahead and do the next one, which is another 600. And if I see anything, a bad part, I'll let you guys know and come back. And then we'll go on to the 700s, which I suspect is where our problem's going to be. Just real quick here, I decided to leave the heatsink on. I'm just unscrewing it. I just took my little needle-nose pliers here and I broke the nut on the back. And now I can kind of just hand undo it. So this is probably the smarter way to do it, and you don't have to mess around with removing the heatsink. So the screw is spinning. So let's desolder the part, and I bet you it just falls right out. So we're going to do this one right here. Okay. Let's see if we can just get that out pretty easily. I think I'm fighting the heatsink compound. It has it kind of glued on there. There we go. Okay. All right, so this should be 57, right? That sure looks like U07 to me. So let's see. Oh, this is Q703. So this is a 700 part right here. No, this is not. This is 604. So are these the 57s? These two? Let me double check, because this certainly looks like a U07. Yeah, U07. Let me just make sure that's what's supposed to be there. Okay, yeah, that's right, because the one that we replaced already was the 57. So it goes 57, 07, 57, 07. So we're still in the 600s. This is the... all right, I'm going to test this one really quick. If it's bad, I'll come back. Do you guys want to do that test again? It's the same thing. So, if it's bad, I'll let you know. If not, I'm going to keep going. Okay, I just pulled out the first 700 transistor. So I did test that last 600, and that was a 07, and that was fine. So now I just pulled out Q703. So let's test that. So again, this is the transistor that the FAQ said would be bad. It's either the 603 or the 703, depending on which circuit is having the issue. So let's go ahead here, put it on diode test. This is a 5-7, which is a PNP. I'm telling you, by the way, these little cheat sheets that I draw up here when I'm doing this is an absolute lifesaver. I'm not kidding. I mean, I got everything straight here. Which ones are NPN, which ones are PNP, you know, it really helps. So anyway, okay, so so the pinout on these guys again is what? Emitter, base collector, yeah. So it's EBC. So let's go emitter, so base to emitter. And we should get, this is a 5-7, this, which is a PNP, we should get outer range. Uh-oh. So far it's testing good. Okay, so that is testing. So emitter, base, collector. So base to emitter should be outer range, and it is. Base to collector should be outer range, and it is. Okay, wait, what do we get there? Yep. And then let's go emitter to base. So emitter to base. Oh boy, this thing's testing good here. Emitter to base, okay. And then collector to base. That's good. And then collector to emitter should be out of range. So that guy tested fine. I don't like that. I'd rather not know that. You know, back in the day, you know, I would just shotgun this stuff. And I would be a little bit in the dark. I'm like, oh, I must have fixed it. Well, I'm not feeling that way right now. U57. All right, I'm going to go ahead now and solder in the 5-7, and I am leaving the heatsink in, so that's the move now. So I'm going to solder this in, and then I'll pull out the next one, and we'll test that one together. Okay, I have the last one out, which is U07, okay, which is a NPN. All right, here we go. Base to collector. Base to emitter. Ready? Oh, it's on continuity. So this is U07, which is an NPN, so we should get a reading here. We do. And then base to collector should get a reading. Darn it, is this going to be good? Okay, emitter to base should be out of range. And it is. And then collector to base should be out of range. And it is. And then collector to emitter should be out of range. Well, that tested good. So all 4 of those tested good. I'm starting to wonder something here. What if my Tempest board took out the monitor? Like if we were to put this all back together, replace the fuse, all that stuff, but use Adam's board first, okay? It's a theory right now, but I'm gonna put this last one in, and I'm gonna research what I do want to test the other frame transistors. I know we tested the 2 power ones, but we should just test them all just because we can do that very easily right now. So let me put this last transistor in and I'll come back. Okay, I've been doing a little bit of research here and I'm just testing stuff now. And the one thing that I want to test is the yoke, and we should be getting 2 readings on the yoke here. And by the way, these wires here go to the yoke, all right? And because if we have a bad yoke, it can cause what's doing this, and I want to rule this out. And basically, we're supposed to get either around 0.9 and 1.3. And there's basically 4 wires. I believe that 2 sets are X and 2 sets are Y. I couldn't really find a pinout on this, but I'm assuming just based on what I'm doing here. So these 2 wires, we get 0.5, okay? It should be around 0.9, and then the other 2 should give us around 1.3, and we get 1.2. So I don't know. Is this too low? 0.3. Is that not enough for resistance? Am I even measuring the right wires? That's the other thing here, because definitely 0.4. And then the other ones, it's got to be these 2. 0.4. 1.1. I'm getting like different readings here. Point 4, 0.5. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's astronomically crazy or different, and it's not shorted, so I'm guessing that's right. Let me see if I can find some more documentation on the yoke and what the reading should be. Okay, I actually found a thread on Clove, and this guy says, the last time I tested my 6100, I had the following values. X was 0.5 and the Y was 1.2. That's pretty much exactly what we're getting. He says he tested another yoke last night when rebuilding his Space Duel, and they were basically the same. So 0.5 and 1.2 looks to be okay. So I'm saying that our yoke is good. Okay. I'm just going to keep doing research here. So I read something about some people saying that check the diodes under the big white resistor. You know, there's a diode right here. This is what I'm wondering right now. Do we put this back together? Actually, you know what? I should test the other transistors. Let me do that. I'm gonna test the rest of the transistors here, because we've only tested these 2. I'm just going to test them again to just make sure that nothing catastrophic happened when we plug this back in. So I'm going to go through here and just test them really fast. I'll do it without you guys because we've tested a lot of transistors. But I'm going to do that really quick and I'll report back in a second. Okay, guys, I've been all over this deflection board. I tested every resistor, okay, in the 700 circuit, which is where we're having our blown fuse, okay, and everything looks okay. So I'm at a loss right now. I didn't check the diodes, admittedly, and I probably should. They're just a pain to test. You got to desolder them. So I know I should test them, right? But here's what I'm thinking. So I replaced the fuse, F700, okay? I'm thinking about putting this all back together. And by the way, I went through this with a fine-tooth comb, double, triple, quadruple checked all of my work. All these transistors are all testing good. All the wires are in the right spot. I did continuity tests. I ohmed out all the wires to make sure there's no resistance somewhere. I mean, I went through this like crazy. I'm not seeing anything that is not right, okay? So, and really, if you look at the 6100 FAQ, it doesn't really talk much about this stuff at all. And all it says is that resistor 712, and that's fine. That tests good. So I don't know what to do right now. And what I'm thinking about doing is putting this all back together and going back in the basement and trying this out. Because what if for some reason this fuse blew before? Like before, right? And maybe somehow I overlooked it and didn't test that. I'm starting to wonder this now. Or maybe one of these transistors I replaced, maybe I fixed something just by replacing it. I don't know. Even though they were testing good, maybe they were bad. Who knows? Maybe we fixed something when we replaced these. I don't know. So I want to go back in the basement and see what happens. And I think we're gonna use Adam's board, not my board. And then we're going to watch these fuses and see if they blow. I mean, this is the only thing I could think of right now. And then after that, we got to start testing voltages. But I don't think what I have here is a voltage-related thing. You know, I have HV. You know, I did read, though, that someone said that the LV2000, if that goes, you'll get picture in the bottom right corner of the screen, which is kind of what we had initially. I don't know. I'm going to put this back together. You know, just like we did before. I'm going to bring this in the basement. I'll meet you guys down there, and let's just see what happens now with these new transistors and the fuse replaced. And all the fuses now are verified working. All the transistors are verified working. I don't know. Let's go in the basement. I'm sick of this darn thing. All right, guys, we're back in the basement. I'm putting the monitor on a chair here because I'm not... I don't have all the confidence I had before. So anyway, all right, let's plug it in and give it a shot. I have Adam's board in here. Okay, so we're gonna be using Adam's board. I don't think my board is causing these problems, but at least it's a variable I can remove. All right, it's plugged in. I'm gonna keep my eye on the fuse as I turn it on. And here we go. Oh, duh, it's not plugged in. You gotta plug in the, we gotta plug in the monitor here, hang on. All right, let's try this again. Here we go. Watching the fuse. I don't see the fuse blowing. I'm watching the fuse. Come on, give me Tempest. Spot killer. Nothing. Let me turn the screen up. I mean, we got chatter. There's nothing on the screen right now at all. Zero, zilch. Spot killer's not even on. Game's playing blind. I see net glow. Oh wait, it's all in the bottom corner right here. All right, there is picture there. It's in the bottom corner. Look at it. See it right there? You know, I read something online. I want to check the fuses real quick, actually. Hang on. Someone had that same issue, and it was the LV2000. It went. Let's just check the fuses really quick here. Carefully. Let me see if this F700 blew again. Nope. Alright, we're not blowing any fuses. So I want to test the voltages on the LV2000. I'm not really sure how to do that. I know we can test 25 volts B plus right here in the neck. But it was the negative voltage that was missing. Because I read online, when I Googled this, someone said that it was that the LV2000 failed, okay, and it was making the 26 volts but not the negative 26, and it literally had the same thing I had where the picture's in the bottom right part of the screen. Could the LV2000 have failed on me? I don't know how to test that, and I don't have a test bench. This is really awkward. Let me go on the LV2000 website and see if he's got a way on there to test the voltages. Okay, I think I might have found something here, guys. The LV2000, I guess, has 2 LEDs, and I think only one of my LEDs are lighting up. And like one LED is for the positive voltages and one is for the negative voltages, and I think I'm missing the negative voltages because I'm looking here and there's only one LED lit on that thing. So you could see we just have one LED lit. We're missing half the voltages, and this totally echoes what I read on like arcaderestoration.com, some website like that, and he had the same issue where the picture was in the lower right or lower left, and it was because the LV2000 was missing half the voltages. We might have just found the issue right here. And I can verify the voltages if I could test them at the P100 there, but it's a little hairy. I'm going to try to do that real quick. All right, guys, I'm going to attempt to check the voltages here. And basically, we need to test pin 3 and pin 6 at connector P100. I'm grabbing ground right here. I'll show you guys in a second closer. I know this is not actually easy for me to film, but I'm going to put it on DC, and we're looking for our positive, I think 26 and negative. So pin 3 right here, we have negative 0.2 volts. So we're missing the negative voltages. And then pin 6 is this one. Oh, we're missing the positive voltages. I have, on pin 6, I get negative 25, roughly, negative 24.9. And then on pin 3, I'm getting negative 0.5. So we're missing the plus 26. Interesting. So, what do we do here? Yeah, I'm on the vector-repair.com, which is the guy that makes LV2000. And so pin 6 should have negative 26. We had negative 25. And then pin 3 should have positive 26. We don't. Well, that's interesting. Do I contact this guy? Because this really echoes what I read on that arcade restoration website. And by the way, I'll show you how I tested it. So if you come in here, I grabbed ground right here. This black wire is actually ground, okay? And then connector P100 is right there. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll zoom in on it. And I basically just took my meter and touched pin 3, which is the third from the right, and then pin 6, which is the second from the left. And you can touch them on the top there because they're insulation displacement connectors. And so we were not getting the 26 volts at pin 3, and the LED is not on the LV2000. So what does it mean? I don't know. So I'm happy we just found something. I'm wondering if I have a bad LV2000. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna stop here. Okay, we're gonna stop, and I'm not turning the arcade on. No, I'm not doing it. We're never gonna turn it on until this is fixed. Okay? We're on strike. Do you want me to turn it on? I want to do viewer mail. Let's keep the arcade off. This is kind of fun. I'm going to send an email to, it looks like Jeff Hendricks and Anders. They're the ones that did the LV2000. So I'm going to shoot them an email. And, because again, I read at the arcade, at that one website. Was it Arcade Restoration? I want to give that guy credit because he was the... Anyway, I'll look it up and we'll talk about it in a second. So let me print some viewer mail. Let's hang out for a little bit, but we're going to stop here. I'm totally out of time. I think this is a long video. So, all right, let me print some viewer mail and we'll hang out for a little. All right, guys, let's do some viewer mail. And yeah, by the way, that website is arcaderestoration.com. They literally have a little repair log page that is exactly my issue. With the gameplay in like the bottom left corner there, really weird. So I've already emailed the guys that make the LV2000. So I guess we're gonna have to do a part number 3. And will I ever turn the arcade on ever again? Is it weird down here like this? So all right, let's do some viewer mail. Oh man, I feel like I've been working on that monitor all weekend, and guess what? I've been working on that monitor all weekend. I mean, that is the reality of what's going on here. So that kind of sucked. That was a lot of garage time and soldering and thinking and researching. I'll tell you though, I feel a lot smarter about that monitor after this weekend because I was on every website, Googling every possible thing, going back to the Rec Games Google group. I was on Vector List. I was all over the 6100 FAQ, all over Clove. I mean, I've been on quite the internet journey here with this video, so I feel like I learned a whole bunch about how that monitor works, really. And really, every time I work on this stuff, you know, like I've had to rebuild or visit that monitor probably 3-4 times in my life now, and by God, every time I do it, I'm getting that much smarter. So now we didn't fix it. I'm not like bragging here, like, oh, look at me, because we didn't fix it. But I think we're heading in the right direction, right? We found something out. I mean, listen, we definitely had bad transistors. We fixed those. We replaced the sockets, which I think is an awesome, amazing bulletproof mod. Okay, we even replaced all the transistor amplifiers, which were all good, but I guess we got new parts in there now, so maybe that'll help things. And then we also found out we're missing 26 volts. Now, I don't know what happened here. How did all of this stuff just break? Very strange. Something took that whole monitor down. I have no idea. All right, let's do some viewer mail. And by the way, guys, you know, comment below. Let's talk about what happened in this video because I think we all can learn something here. But hopefully, if I get a new LV2000, maybe that's going to fix my all the troubles here. So we'll see. All right, the first one here is from Jonathan Turner. Oh, by the way, you guys, if you want to participate in the viewer mail, you need to email them to me at blkdog7@gmail.com. That's blkdog7@gmail.com. In the subject line, you got to put viewer mail. It is weird down here, isn't it? Hey, John. Greetings from the UK. I found your channel over a year ago after seeing your segment in the Ben Heck Show, and I have been hooked ever since, never missing a video. Even though I love arcade games, I've never owned an arcade game and never really given it much thought until seeing your videos. I started looking for a game I could put in the garage, but everything I saw on eBay was too expensive. Yeah, eBay is tough, man. That is probably the worst place to buy arcade games. I'm not kidding. The prices on there are always dumb. I've purchased one game on eBay, and that's the Mario Brothers, and that was a long time ago. And I look on eBay all the time. It's a great place to find rare stuff, because if the guys that got the rare, one-of-a-kind pieces, they tend to auction them off on eBay. So it's always a nice spectacle when that happens, but the pricing is usually crazy. Anyway, moving on. I tried some of your tips to look on other sites and Craigslist, but it is known well enough in the UK and searches come up empty. I settled into the role of being one of your viewers without a cabinet and resigned to the fact that it might never happen. Then a few months ago, you mentioned in a video that you searched for take quarters as one of your search terms, so I gave it a go. Unfortunately, not many games in UK uses quarters, so I tried coin operated. Yeah, these are my pro tips. I do that. Hey, also, one of my favorite search terms now is Taito. Taito. Because it only brings up arcade games, really. Taito didn't do much of anything else. Like, try stuff like that, too, like Cinematronics, Taito, just like the game makers, Bally Midway. Try some stuff like that, too. Because the Taito stuff has been unearthing some things. Anyway, he goes on. He tried coin-operated, and there it was. Arcade games in the UK that not many people were bidding on, so I bid on a game that I won. My first arcade machine for £50, or about 65 US. Dude, that is freaking awesome. And he found it by doing coin-operated. I'm telling you, there's so many games on Craigslist where they don't put arcade in the title. It happens all the time. All the time. I think actually that the Atari Warriors that Adam got, I think I found that and there was not arcade in the title. So be sure to just search for like coin operated, takes quarters, manufacturers, the name of the game that you're looking for, stand-up video game. I love that you got this. So anyway, he got my first game. He collected it last week. You may have seen a tweet of me fitting it in my car, and I got it back to my garage to begin my venture into the hobby. It is a Silver Strike Supreme Bowling with a non-working Polo monitor. Sad face. The game works great after testing it out on another monitor, not a CRT. Not the greatest game and not one I thought I'd get, but it's mine, and I couldn't be happier. Apologies for the long email, but I just want to say thanks for all you do for the hobby and inspire me to get involved. I'm enjoying finding out so much about CRT monitors and prep for fixing the Polo. Your videos give me the confidence to give it a go. Your friend, John. P.S. If you have any advice on where to start with the Polo, I'd be grateful. It has glow on the neck, but no picture or static on the front, maybe the flyback. Do you or any of your viewers know if possible to add a golden tee and have both games playing on this cabinet? Questions. Thanks in advance. Okay, so first things first. Let me show pictures of his cabinet here, because I think it's really cool. Here you go. All right, so that thing is super cool, and it looks totally different than mine, because I'm guessing that's a UK Silver Strike. Now, I have a Golden Tee cabinet over there. We can go look at it, and I have the US one. Now in the US, the Golden Tees and the Silver Strikes are pretty much the same cabinet, okay? And yes, the arcade's turned off, so we can't see it playing, and I'm sticking with that. So anyway, back here is my cabinet. Now, I have a Golden Tee, and I have a switcher in there, okay, that's called the Perfect Solution Kit, and it's not cheap. I got one used. That allows me to switch between Golden Tee and Silver Strike Bowling, because Golden Tee and Silver Strike Bowling are essentially the same harness. Everything about it's the same. And so you can get the switcher, and you could switch out and have it switch from Golden Tee to Silver Strike, assuming that the European one is the same as the US one. I would guess it is, because it's just a modified JAMA harness. That's all it is. So I encourage you to do that, because Golden Tee is awesome. It really is a good game, and those boards are going kind of cheap now. Now the switching, it's called the Perfect Solution. Like if you type in Golden Tee Perfect Solution switcher, it'll come up on Google. Now, as far as the monitor goes, well, I'm going to be rebuilding a Polo monitor soon. Now, I've never fixed a Polo. I'm going to tell you this. It's an unknown monitor I have, and it sounds like yours is too. I would at least start with a cap kit. Go to iankellogg.com, order the John's Arcade branded cap kit for that monitor, and I would go through and replace the caps. My plan is actually to replace the horizontal output transistor, and all the caps, and see if that monitor comes to life. Now, yours doesn't sound like it's in shutdown. I think that the monitor that I have right now is completely in shutdown, so I don't know if I have a bag hot or what. I haven't done any tests on that monitor, so I don't really know what's wrong with it. But I was going to start with a cap kit first, because the monitor is original and nothing's ever been done to it, so I might as well just replace the caps and maybe even the hot, and we'll see what happens. But I would kind of do the same thing, check your fuses, do a cap kit, rebuild the thing, and then see what happens, and then if it doesn't fix it, then maybe start looking at other things. But if you have neck glow, that sounds like you have high voltage, which usually means the flyback's working. So yes, John, congrats on your first game, and dude, that is a killer deal. For $65, you got a really good-looking game, honestly, and that is a JAMA cabinet. You could throw some other stuff in there. You could. It's JAMA. So you could put other boards in there. Now, I don't know if the trackball would work with other trackball JAMA games. It might. It probably does, right? I don't know. I've never really looked at that harness, and I don't know how proprietary Golden Tee or Incredible Technologies made that. So anyway, John, good luck and congrats. Next one's from Rich. Hey, John, I found your channel this past July, having burned out on the whole Euro board game thing. I've been telling my wife I always wanted arcade games in my basement. I had a faint vision of owning a Spy Hunter, a Star Wars arcade, and maybe a Rampage. I love the old Aladdin's Castle arcade in my hometown. I found memories of the 10th and the 13th birthday parties there, and even worked there for a stint after I started college. Truth be told, my sister actually ran away from home once because she just started walking to Aladdin's Castle. Anyway, just as many viewers before me have compelled to share, seeing your arcade immediately resonated with my youth. Even more, it was shocking to see my dream of owning an arcade in a basement was actually a thing shared by you. I scored my first machine, an Outrun upright off of Craigslist 2 weeks after finding your channel for $250. That's a great deal, man. Outrun definitely sells for $5 and up, and usually they don't work. 5 minutes in my basement, and I, with no experience, was able to find the starter down in the bottom of the cabinet and light the marquee. As it blazed to life, my wife just said, and now you're hooked. I have since replaced the broken A gear with a metal replacement, scrubbed it down with Simple Green, earned my first really good monitor shock, and learned a ton about what makes these machines tick, along with playing it every chance I get. It takes me back with every play, and I can't even place myself in my memory to where the machine sat in the Aladdin's entrance. It's simply an amazing experience to play this machine in my own basement. In September, I scored a Gauntlet Legends and made fast friends with the seller. Then a few weeks ago, scored a pristine Rampage. I would like to thank you for sparking to life some activity in what would have remained my dormant pipe dream. I know I speak for all of us regular viewers to say that in this challenging world, your show has meant a lot to us. I am at a place where I like to attempt possibly capping my Outrun monitor, but really feel that I need a bit of training before I actually get in there. Any ideas? Also, my Gauntlet monitor is a medium def, and it seems a bit dim. Any ideas? Seeing a monitor out to be repaired seems a little scary and expensive. I do want to eventually get in there and fix these monitors myself. How did you first tackle the scary subject of fixing a monitor? And could you talk a bit about your experience on getting started in this? Thank you for being awesome, Buster. Well, first off, congrats on the games. I mean, you got 3 games in a short amount of time. It sounds like you got some monitor issues. I'm going to tell you, when I got in this, I've told this story a gazillion times. So, basically, obviously, like you, all of this was inside of me, right? Because I grew up with all this stuff, and when I was a kid, I used to dream about owning arcade games, right? And I would watch Silver Spoons. Remember the sitcom Silver Spoons? And Ricky Schroeder had the games in his house and stuff, and that was the coolest thing possible. And then I saw King of Kong, okay? And that's what started all this for me. The King of Kong movie made me realize you could actually own these games and have them, and so I got my Donkey Kong, and the rest was his history, okay? But here's the thing. Once I started getting the games, the first thing that really started happening was the monitors were dying, or I had monitor issues. And initially, you know, I'm trying to think like how I started working on the monitors initially. I mean, initially I was scared to heck to do it, and I had friends help me. I remember Adam helped me very early on, cap my 20EZ, and eventually I got the courage to just do it, okay? And you know, I've documented a lot of this on this channel, so you know, monitors are very scary. I know they are initially. I'm not scared of them anymore. As long as you have competent soldering skills and common sense, you can really get through it, okay? And if you shotgun this stuff, which is what I do, okay, and what I really did in the beginning, as I've been doing this more and more, I'm starting to try to want to understand more how it works, and if a part is really good or bad as I replace it. Like, I want to know that. Like today, you saw we were testing those transistors to see if they were good or bad. In the past, I would have, like John 5-6 years ago, would have just replaced everything and never knew what I was replacing was good or bad. So I think initially, you got to learn how to discharge a monitor. It's not as scary as it seems. I've done it a lot in these videos. Go watch them. And then you just need some common sense about taking it apart. And again, I've documented most monitors on this channel, especially the big ones, the 4900s, the G07s, the K7000s, all of those, and the 6100s have been documented pretty well on this channel. So go back and watch those videos and just be careful and have some common sense and buy those kits, you know. Go to Ian Kellogg.com. Buy the John's Arcade branded cap kits. Those are the best kits you can get. Install it. You're also supporting the channel, so definitely buy that stuff. And then, you know, as far as like the dim picture, the cap kit might maybe possibly help the picture a little bit, but really, you know, if the monitor's dim, a lot of times you got to rejuve the tube, and that was something I graduated to. I wasn't able to do that initially, but initially, you know, I would play with those knobs like a lot, like trying to find that sweet spot to make that picture look as good as possible. So sometimes when the picture's dim, it could be an adjustment. So anyway, you know, listen, I guess my only recommendation for you is to just do it. Just do it. Maybe don't do the medium resolution monitor first. Do the Outrun first, okay? Because that monitor is replaceable. That's a standard res monitor. It's a 19-inch. I think it's a 19-inch in there. Is it a 20? It's not like a weird Sega Nano 20-inch in that, is it? I don't know. But the medium res monitors are a little harder to replace. So if you're going to screw one up, you know, another thing too, though, is that like arcadecup.com, which is Chad's website, he repairs monitors. You can send him the chassis and he'll fix them for you. I did that a long time ago. He actually repaired, I think, the Paperboy monitor for me a long time ago. I think he did. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had him do that like a long time ago. So you could take out the monitor chassis and send them to arcadecup.com, but personally I think it's a little more satisfying to do it yourself. So anyway, good luck, Rich. Next one here is from Tony. Hi, John. A big hello from Nottinghamshire, England. Cheers, mate. I'm a regular viewer, watched all of your videos, some more than once, love the channel and all that you do to keep us entertained with the arcade stuff. My fiance knows how much I love watching the channel, so much so that last Christmas she bought me a John's Arcade t-shirt as a surprise gift. Thanks. Here I am wearing it on Christmas Day. It was one of my favorite presents. And here you go. Here he is. So Tony, you look very handsome in a John's Arcade shirt. Thank you very much. So going on, my question is, will you be doing any more t-shirt runs in time for Christmas? Mine is getting a bit worn out now. Or might there be any other John's Arcade merchandise on the way? I'd like to buy some of those fantastic Post-it notes too, and we'll be ordering a cap kit soon for my Wells Gardner's K7000. Anyway, man, by the time you read this, I hope you fixed the Tempest and can get onto other projects in the garage. If this email was read out in your video, it would make my year. Well, I guess we just did that. If not, I hope you get time to read it at least, if only for me, to say thanks for the work you do. I know you get a lot of email and don't get time to read everything. Thanks for everything you do, bro. Your friend Tony, DJ Roge, UK. So, all right, so yes, you know what? This has actually been on my mind, the t-shirt thing, because last year I did 2 t-shirt campaigns, and this year, for whatever reason, I haven't done a single one. And I kind of was worried I did too many last year, so I was going to hold off, and really, it's been a time thing too. I need to sit down and design the shirt, and there's a little bit of pressure on me to make the shirt cooler than the previous ones, but I have the idea to do the like the world tour, like a rock t-shirt with all the games listed on the back for the year. So I'm gonna do that, and yes, I've been thinking about Christmas too, because I want to make sure that the campaign starts and ends and in time for the shirts to ship for Christmas for people that want to use these as Christmas presents. So I think I need to get my button gear and do that in October. So I would like to maybe say by within a week to 10 days here, we'll have another campaign. I just need to etch out some time to sit down and design the shirt. And but I really think I need to do it probably before the end of October, have the campaign end in November, and that should hopefully give everyone time to get them in time for Christmas. So that's the plan. I guess we'll do a 25 or 30-day campaign. So, and you know, the t-shirt campaigns are awesome. It really is a great way to support this channel, and really the best way to do it. So I will be doing that t-shirt campaign for sure. So anyway, Tony, thanks a lot, man. Guys, that's it. We're done. I hope you enjoyed it. I think this is a very long video. I don't know. I haven't sat down to edit it. I'm worried it's like 2 hours. It might be. We did a lot of stuff. This is 2 days of troubleshooting that darn monitor. So anyway, that's it, guys. I'll see you very soon. Hope you enjoyed it. Right now my camera is flashing because I'm running out of SD card space. That means I recorded 60 gigs. I have a 60 gig SD card. I recorded 60 gigs of video this weekend. Oh my God, this is not gonna be fun to edit, so. All right, guys, that's it. We're done. I'll see you very soon. Subscribe, like, tell your friends. Check out my podcast, Video Game Outsiders, videogameoutsiders.com, Arcade Outsiders at arcadeoutsiders.com. and YouSuckShow at YouSuckShow.com. And yes, go to ArcadeEvent.com because Grinkers is happening this week on October 14th and 15th. I'm talking fast because my camera is about to run out of memory. So if you guys want to go to Grinkers and me hang out with Joe, Sean, and myself, we're doing a tournament this weekend, October 14th and 15th. Go to ArcadeEvent.com. It's not too late to show up. You don't even have to pre-register. Just show up. Go to Grinkers Grand Palace this Friday and Saturday. We'll be there. All right, guys. But all the details are at ArcadeEvent.com. All right, that's it. I'll see you very soon. Later, and bye.